Have you ever wondered why, when a bug is going around, some people get totally wiped out, while others don't even get a sniffle? It's one of the biggest puzzles in all of medicine. Why do our bodies react so differently to the exact same germ? Well, a brand new discovery might finally be giving us the answer.
This question was impossible to ignore during the COVID-19 pandemic, right? We all knew someone or heard stories about people who tested positive but never felt a single thing. They got this nickname, the Super Dodgers, and for years, nobody could figure out how they did it. How could you be infected but feel totally fine?
Well, it turns out the answer might literally be written in our DNA. A really groundbreaking study just came out, and it's given us the first solid genetic clue that points to a specific gene that acts like an invisible shield.
So researchers at the University of California, San Francisco, they looked at the DNA from thousands of people, and they found this incredible connection. There's a direct link between having zero symptoms and carrying a very particular piece of genetic code. It's not just about being lucky, it's about your biology.
Okay, so the specific gene has this super technical name, HLA-B-15-01. I know, it's a mouthful. But just think of the HLA system as the bouncers for your body's cells. They're constantly checking IDs, showing little pieces of what's inside the cell to your immune system, basically telling your T cells, hey, this guy's cool, or whoa, this one's an invader, get him.
So how does this magic gene work? It's all about giving your T cells a head start. See, folks with this gene have T cells with a really good memory from fighting off common colds in the past. So when SARS-CoV-2 shows up, their immune cells see a little piece of it that looks super familiar, like an old enemy. It's like they've already seen the Most Wanted poster, and they can launch this massive, immediate attack before the virus even knows what hit it.
And you might think this is some super rare 1 in a million mutation, right? Nope. The study found that about 10% of us, that's 1 in every 10 people, are walking around with this protective gene.
Now, if you carry just one copy of this gene, you're already more than twice as likely to have no symptoms. That is a huge advantage.
But this is where it gets really wild. If you're lucky enough to inherit 2 copies of the gene, one from each parent, your chances of being a super dodger just skyrocket. You become over 8 times more likely to never feel sick. It's just a stunning example of how powerful a single genetic trait can be.
Okay, so this COVID discovery is amazing all by itself, but it's also just one piece of a much bigger revolution in how we think about infections, a revolution really pioneered by one visionary scientist.
Meet immunologist Jean-Laurent Casanova. For decades, this guy has been obsessed with that one simple question. Way before COVID, he was challenging everything we thought we knew about disease. He didn't just want to know what germ makes us sick. He wanted to know why that germ is deadly for me, but maybe harmless for you.
You see, for over a century, medicine has run on the germ theory, the idea that the microbe is the bad guy. But Casanova champions what you could call the host theory. And in this view, the microbe is just the trigger. The real reason someone gets severely ill is a hidden weakness, a pre-existing vulnerability inside that person.
Casanova has this perfect way of explaining it. He says the virus or bacterium, that's just the match. The fuel, the thing that lets that little spark turn into a raging fire, is already inside us. It's a genetic flaw or an immune system blind spot. Without the fuel, the match just fizzles out.
So where did this radical idea come from? Well, Casanova's entire life's work started not in a lab full of test tubes, but with a single, heartbreaking medical mystery that put him on the path to finding these silent cracks in our immune armor.
Picture this, Paris, the early 1990s. A healthy baby girl gets the standard BCG vaccine. It's a routine shot, given to millions. Her 2 older brothers got it and were totally fine. But for her, something went horribly wrong. The weakened bacteria in the vaccine, which should have been harmless, started spreading all over her body. Her organs began to fail, and despite everything the doctors did, she passed away.
Casanova just couldn't let it go. Years later, he found the answer. It wasn't the vaccine's fault. That little girl had a single, devastating mutation in a gene that was critical for fighting that specific type of bacteria. It was a silent crack in her immune system, totally invisible until that one microbe came along. And that was it. The first real proof that a single gene defect could make an otherwise healthy person fatally vulnerable to a specific bug.
And from that tragedy, this powerful new method was born. Instead of studying diseases in general, Casanova starts with the patient, that one person who has a totally unexplained reaction. From there, his team hunts for the gene. They figure out exactly which biological pathway failed, and then, with that knowledge, they can actually develop targeted therapies to fix that exact problem.
But here's the thing.
As his work continued, especially during the pandemic, he discovered that these silent weaknesses aren't always in our DNA from birth. Sometimes our own bodies actually create them.
So, fast forward to COVID-19. His team is using their method on patients with life-threatening cases. They found some of the genetic flaws they expected, sure, but in about 15% of the absolute worst cases, the genes looked fine. Something else was going on. The culprit? Get this, autoantibodies. These patients' own immune systems were making antibodies that, instead of attacking the virus, were attacking their own critical defense proteins. They were basically shutting down their own fire alarm system, leaving the body totally defenseless. It was a self-inflicted weakness that no one knew existed until the pandemic revealed it.
So the big takeaway here is that our internal defense system is incredibly complex. Yeah, vulnerability can be genetic, but it can also be immunological, like with those autoantibodies. And now we know it also involves things like our microbiome, all those bacteria in our gut, and even our personal history with other diseases.
And of course, this whole idea of carrying a pathogen without getting sick, it's not new at all. History is full of these silent carriers. I mean, you've heard of Typhoid Mary, right? She spread typhoid everywhere while being perfectly healthy. It's the same story with polio, where tons of people carry it without symptoms, and even things like chlamydia. The COVID superdodgers are really just the latest chapter in a very long book.
So what does all this actually mean for the future? Well, it means we are right on the edge of a massive shift in how we understand and fight infectious diseases.
The journey from that one tragic case in Paris all the way to the global puzzle of COVID-19 has taught us this one incredibly powerful lesson. If you really want to know why some of us get sick and others don't, you can't just look at the germ. You have to look inward, at the unique genetic and immunological landscape inside every single one of us.
And I think Jean-Laurent Casanova himself sums it up perfectly. He says, Louis Pasteur gave us the revolution that explained what causes infection, but the next revolution is happening right now, and it's all about explaining who gets sick and, more importantly, why. And that understanding is going to change absolutely everything.